My name's Tomie. I'm a Regenerative Economies Director for IAC, a fairly new program, kind of sounds funny, but really I focus on that, how the impact of economies and ag affect us all, how we can access more credit, and overall, how we can, maybe make some more money. One of the key pieces they had me focusing on a couple years ago is what regenerative agriculture or climate smart, or for many of us, traditional agriculture looks like on our operations. Many of us do these sort of practices, we see the benefits, but none of the financial impacts are captured. We don't really know if there is a cost, if there's a benefit, or if there's a long-term equity being built by operating the way we do on our operations across the country. So I went to the trouble to see if I could do the research myself. Then I found a partner in Environmental Defense Fund. They're an international organization and they have done studies before, and I reached out to them and they were very excited to do a case study that was specific for native farms and ranches. And we started this in 2022, and we'll be ending this case study in 2025. Be able to hopefully show a variety of operations, what the financial impacts are, and also what their soil impacts are, what their operational grazing plans and crop operations look like, and be able to use that information not only to provide knowledge to producers when they're making decisions, but also to the greater landscape of lending, to show them what the costs and benefits are from doing these sort of practices and operating the way that we do. We started, like I said, in 2022, so we have first year's numbers of some data we collected. And so we actually have another video we're going to show you of the very first year and some numbers we had that are specific for the case study that we're doing.
Ranching on reservation lands, tribal lands, we have to be really open-minded that it's not our land, it's the people's land. Regenerative ag, to me, is following practices that add back to the land and improve it. Currently, the regenerative ag practices that I'm using are bale grazing and rotational grazing. And the impacts from the bale grazing are that we're seeing more organic matter in the soil and more moisture content where the bale grazing has been practiced.
Bring out my panelists to discuss more about our case study. The first panelist is Vincent Gauthier with Environmental Defense Fund. We also have Fanny Brewer with Brewer Ranch. She's a producer in the case study. And then last but not least, Janie Hipp, who has many credentials, but right now she is the CEO of Native American Financial Services.
So Tomie actually covered a lot of things that I was going to cover, so I'll try and speed it up so we can listen to these amazing ladies tell us about what they're working on. But first I wanted to say a few things about my organization. We've been first honored to be here and to speak in front of you, but also have been honored over the last few years to work with IAC and with the 13 producers participating in the project to really better understand the regenerative practices that a lot of you have been and continue to implement on your farms and ranches. And as Tomie said, our objective is really to better understand the changes in costs, the changes in revenue, the changes in long-term improvements on the ranches that those practices are implementing. I represent the Environmental Defense Fund. We're an international nonprofit environmental organization. We've been working in U.S. agriculture for decades now, working with partners like IAC, like major commodity groups on policy, economics, finance, science, so that we can advance sustainability in the agriculture sector while ensuring that all those solutions that we develop are profitable to producers, so that all of you can continue to produce and improve the impacts that you have on the land you are working the environment, and the communities that you work in. Our second objective for this project, Tomie talked about the information that we're hoping to provide to all of you so that you can better understand the financial costs and benefits of regenerative practices that you're implementing on your farms and ranches. But our second objective is really to leverage that information to better inform new funding and new credit solutions that can drive more investments in native agriculture and continue to invest in the regenerative practices that you're implementing. We have 3 key questions in this project that we're aiming to answer. And we don't have all of the answers yet, so please come to us and ask more questions that you have about the impacts that your regenerative practices are having so we can ensure that we build that into our evaluation and answer those questions. But for now, our 3 questions in the project that we're trying to answer. 1, what is the financial value of regenerative ag approaches that you all are implementing? 2, what are the funding and financing needs you all have to make those investments and keep your operations profitable as you make those investments? And 3, what are, at the same time, the soil health and livestock benefits that accrue over time as you implement these approaches? As Tomie said, we've been working with 13 producers, Fanny being one of them. She's going to be able to share about her experience during this panel. All of the 13 producers are contributing their time and their information to inform this project. They're doing 2 key things. 1, they're working with the Minnesota Farm Business Management Program, where they are gathering and their financial information, doing record keeping, benchmarking, farm analysis to inform the questions that I just laid out. And then second, they're gathering soil tests, forage quality tests, all of that to inform the questions that we had in this project, and ultimately to inform all of you on the results of the project. We're really excited to share some of the results from the last year in a case study, which there will be a QR code up on the screen in a few minutes. Please check out the case study that we have online. We'll be building more of these in the coming years as we gather more financial data through the project. I'm going to hand it over to Tomie to run through the panel. Please take a picture of this QR code with your camera. Go find the case study of Mr. Rose and Rose Ranch and all the amazing things that he's doing on the ranch, and check out some of the financial analysis that we did with him to see how well he's performing with some of the regenerative ag approaches that he's implementing on his ranch. And with that, I will turn it over to Tomie.
Okay, we do have some questions for our excellent panel. First off, Fanny and Brewer Ranch, can you tell us about your ranch, the regenerative practices that you are implementing, and why you were interested in participating in this project?
Oh, jeez. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Fanny Brewer. I'm from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe in South Dakota. That's where I live and ranch and raise my family. My family have been there 3 generations ranching. A little bit about our ranch is the land base, and the makeup of that is we have deeded ground. We run on trust ground. We run on tribal ground. We have farm pasture leases with the tribe. So we kind of cover all the bases as far as that goes. Pretty typical in Indian country for ranches to be set up like that. And our climate is in South Dakota. Of course, we deal with harsh winters. We sometimes get adequate rainfall, but we tend to be kind of droughty sometimes. You know, when the years are good with moisture, our land really can produce grass. We're not real farm country. We don't really do any farming. We put up grass hay, and alfalfa hay is probably the only crops that we do. Once in a while, we'll throw some millet in there or something like that. As far as regenerative practice, we run cattle. That's what we do. We're cow-calf operators. We don't do the yearling thing. Sometimes we retain our heifer calves and either sell them as bred heifers or we'll sell them to go to grass in the spring. This particular year, we sold everything. We had been in a severe 3-year drought. We're trying to regroup from that. We finally start getting some moisture late in the summer. We just figured it was better for the ground to let it heal itself, and it has. It's started to get better now. And so this year we kind of unloaded, all the calves, so we didn't retain anything, so we're not feeding anything right now. As far as the regenerative part of our ranch, we actually were kind of getting into it before this program came along, so it's been a nice fit. Because in agriculture, especially these days, the cost of ranching or farming is extremely expensive. And we need our cattle to produce on what Mother Nature makes. They're the genetics. We try to push for genetics that with longevity and that they can utilize the kind of ground that we have. We have moderate frame cattle, probably on a little smaller side. We don't go for big frame cattle because they don't hold up. We live in rough terrain. And they travel longer distances to water. The only time they're up by our house is during calving season. Otherwise, they're kicked out. And they're range cattle, and they got to be able to survive. And so regenerative kind of fits into our life fairly easy. But I do want to see the financials on it. And that was my main interest with this program. And they actually sent a gentleman with an accounting program. It's a computer program. And he actually came to our house and has sat down with us and helped us start that process. And it's going to give us some extremely valuable information. But I can tell you that a lot of us that ranch in the big country like that, a lot of the things we already do are regenerative to a point because it's just the nature of our surroundings. We don't, and now anymore with the cost of feed, you kind of got to watch that. Actually, you really have to watch that. And the cost of everything else, you have one piece of equipment go down, it's several thousands of dollars. And so we really monitor that. And so we've started with regenerative, we started doing things so our cattle can produce, like I said, with what nature gives them. And that helps us with our output. So we ain't spending so much money. We stopped feeding cake, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's like a vitamin cube, high protein. And it's gotten so expensive. Those of you who feed it know this. It's very, very expensive. So we went to an alternative about 3 years ago because we were having to buy hay through the drought because our land just couldn't produce it, and so we just gave it rest. And so we start buying high-protein alfalfa in the big squares, not the little squares, but they come in big squares. We just set one in back of the pickup, and we substitute that in the winter. We go flake it out for X amount of pounds for how many head are in that particular group, and we just go around. It's no different than caking. You're just flaking out alfalfa hay. And they've seemed to have done very well. Our calves this year weighed very well. Considering we didn't start getting the rains like everybody else till about August. So we were looking at another drought again. So 2 years ago, we had sold our herd down by 1/3 to survive the drought and to sustain the grass that we did have. We were looking at going and selling another 1/3. If things went to change by this time, like this year, we would have sold another 1/3. So we would have been down to 1/3 left. And but that didn't happen. And so we went that route as far trying to cheapen up our feed costs. we really watch that output of feed because it is getting to be one of the biggest expenses as far as for a rancher in winter country. You know, I realize that's probably different in the South maybe, but for North country, we have to feed. And sometimes you have to feed a lot depending on how deep the snow gets. And so that is getting to be one of our biggest expenses. Another big expense is repairs, machinery, the things you need to use to keep in business, and insurance. If you have a ranching policy on your ranch, health insurance, we all know. We figured it out and we didn't even include health insurance. We just figured the normal ranch policy, vehicle policies, which covers, you know, trailers, you know, any of that stuff. We figured it costs us $90 per head out of your calf check. So every head you sell, it's about $90 from them is what it costs for insurance now. That's really steep. And so as far as regenerative goes, we feel it's the route for us. We're trying to cheapen up everything because we can't control Mother Nature. We cannot control markets because they got too many money people playing in that. They think it's real funny to mess around. I was going to use a cuss word, but I didn't. I wanted to use about 10 of them, but I didn't. And so they're controlling things. So we have no control over that. And we do not have control over the economy. And we all know we go to the grocery stores. We all have to buy food for our families. We know how expensive that is. So we're looking at the things that we can control. And that's where regenerative is, for us, a very good option. Now, I realize some of you, some producers, they're not set up to go regenerative like we are, because we were so close to it anyways. You know, I'm a real chemical freak. I don't like chemicals. I think it's horrible for humans, animals, the earth, the water, everything. I have a real hard time with that. I don't want it around the place. I find other ways to try to control weeds in like my yard and around the corrals. I don't want that kind of stuff around. And we don't implant, we don't put no hormones in our cattle. We sell grass-fed. We used to be organic for like 6 years, but they start charging us so high for the licensing on that pretty soon you're not making a premium. It's actually costing you. So we stopped that, but we do sell grass-fed. I only butcher grass-fed for my family. It's just a preference for me. And so for me, regenerative fits. I like some of the programs that we are doing. We took some ground that used to be an alfalfa field, and we want to put it back into alfalfa, but we thought, well, why don't we put a cover crop on there, kind of bust up the soil, get the soil more healthy before we try to put it back into some form of alfalfa or millet or something. And so we did a cover crop this past year with turnips, radishes, and a variety of other things. And I really enjoyed that. My husband was not, he thought it was cool, but he doesn't really get into it like I do. And another thing is, a few years ago, when we would retain our heifers, of course, you have manure. You have manure around your corrals, and I don't like that either, because then the flies come and all that. So we would hire a company to come in and haul manure and take it out to fields or the pasture land or whatever. Well, anyways, they're hard to get a hold of, and we're so remote that the main company went to Nebraska to work the feedlots because they could make more money. So we ended up buying our own manure spreading truck and a payloader and start doing our own, while this neighbor heard about it and that neighbor heard about it, and pretty soon we're doing quite a bit of business. Now it's a business that my family does. Both my sons run it, and my husband, he's pretty much the mechanic, because you're going to have breakdowns. And that's a big part of regenerative, because we're not bringing in synthetic fertilizer. We're taking something that the cattle produced, and it's just sitting there, going to go to waste. All you're going to do is put it in a big pile, and then, like I said, comes the flies and everything else. We take it, we put it on fields, and we raise the nitrogen level. We raise the quality of that soil, and that really fit in with the cover crops. And I think that's why the cover crops did so well on that particular, because we have a little harsher soil type. We're in what they call gumbo country. It's a super heavy clay. When it rains, it's a nightmare. We love the rain, but you just kind of, about an inch of rain is about our limit, and then you stay home. Otherwise, you're just ripping vehicles and pickups and tractors and a lot of front wheel assists pulling stuff around to get to the highway and things like that. So it's a little harsher soil type, not real compatible with farming. So I was really impressed with the cover crop. It was a good indication that the manure spreading was paying off for us. We do several different things on the ranch to stay away from chemicals. People say, why don't you spray, or why don't you? And I don't know. I mean, I think there comes a point you have to. I mean, I understand that, like in farming and stuff, you kind of have to sometimes. I just prefer not to. So, but anyways, I'll give this on back, but I just think it's funny. Some of this video up here you see is of my husband, and I signed up for this program and I didn't tell him. I thought it was cool, and I didn't tell him till the morning they were coming. The photographer and the video people and the people going to interview us, I didn't even really know the details fully. And I got an email, and it said, just wear your regular clothes and whatever. And I'm like, I wonder why. That's so weird. So I text her back, and I said, why? Well, we're going to video you guys all day today. And I'm like, oh, I better fess up, because he's going to be mad. Because he's a real private person. And now he's blasted all over everything. And he's even in the agenda. Thank God he's not here. And because they were coming, and he said, Fanny, there's 3 vehicles coming. And I go, yeah, I know. He goes, you owe me so bad. He goes, and I said, well, how could I ever repay you? He said, stay out of Walmart. But anyways, it's been a really good program, you guys. I'm really interested to see the data. Things are going to kind of change, because we were selling down to survive the drought. I know financially it probably looked like crap. I know it did. We were in a drought. I hated them people even being there taking videos. I was so embarrassed, because it made us look like we didn't take care of our ranch because of how severe the drought was. And I told him, I said, you don't realize how beautiful this place is. I said, I'm really humiliated. I wish you could see it when a better year. And the photographer and the video guy that was there called me, and he said, you know what? When it straightens out and you guys aren't in a drought, I will come to your place and I'll take you a whole new set of videos and pictures. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Fanny. Next question will be actually for Vincent. How do you see investments in regenerative ag as an opportunity for producers in the ag sector as a whole, and what other efforts does EDF see happening in this space?
Yeah, so at EDF, our objective, like our mission, is to create a vital earth for everyone. And in agriculture, there's a tremendous opportunity to contribute to that, especially with the fact that one of the greatest challenges that the agriculture sector face and our communities face is the effects that climate change is having today and will continue to have in the coming years. Fanny, you mentioned having to deal with drought conditions, and in many parts of the country, though that's an issue that will continue and become more severe. But that also means that there's a lot of investment taking place in the agriculture sector, both to contribute to mitigating greenhouse gas emissions so that we slow the impacts of climate change, but also to build resilience and adaptation to the effects that climate change is going to have on our farming communities. And investments in regenerative ag, which, as you heard from the previous panel with Undersecretary Bonnie talking about some of the programs that they have already put forward and some of the investments that are going into climate smart agriculture, there's really a lot of opportunities for farmers and ranchers to see investments in their farms and ranches, and to begin to adapt to some of those impacts that they will see from changing climate and more severe weather. So there's two really, I think, opportunities for farmers and ranchers out there. One, there are new markets being developed for products that are being grown or raised with regenerative or climate smart practices. There's both carbon markets being rapidly developed, as well as other supply chain investments in low greenhouse gas produced products. That will bring new markets for those that are at the forefront making changes on their farms and ranches to reduce their greenhouse gas footprints. But then, as I said, the second opportunity is really to build resilience like Fannie and Brewer Ranch are doing. Really thinking about how they manage for drought that in some cases can persist for multiple years, and investing in practices like cover crops, like reducing stocking rates in order to let the land heal. That is an approach to resilience that will really allow certain farms and ranches that are using those approaches to prosper across the ups and downs of weather and the impacts that climate change will have in the coming years over weather. As we said, the USDA has made massive investments through the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities. Definitely be on the lookout for opportunities through IAC and through Akiptan through the Climate Smart Commodities grant that they're contributing to. I think those grants are going to start really providing opportunities down to the farm and ranch level in the next year, and really taking advantage of those opportunities will allow you to take that journey towards accessing new markets for climate smart commodities and building resilience on your farms and ranch. I was at the Sustainable Ag Summit in Charlotte, North Carolina last week, and outside of the USDA investments that we've been seeing over the last few years is really a big investment and a really serious strategy that is being built by some of the largest food and agriculture companies across the US to invest in greenhouse gas mitigation practices in their supply chain. And their big focus is on insetting, meaning paying for improvements at the farm and ranch level in their supply sheds that reduce greenhouse gas emissions that they can claim as reductions to their supply chain emissions. That is going to bring new market opportunities, new revenue opportunities for those that are at the forefront of making those improvements. So again, all of these changes related to climate change and the investments that are being made to reduce the impacts of greenhouse gas emissions from the agriculture sector are going to bring opportunities both for new markets for greenhouse gas mitigation, but also for investments in resilience.
Thank you, Vincent. Next question will be for Janie Hipp. So she is the CEO of Native American Financial Services, which is brand new. So I would like her to give us a quick overview of NAFS and what you're working on, but also how you can see these opportunities that NAFS could use to help address the capital issues in Indian country.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to see so many folks. I think, Tomie, this is like, don't count, but I think this is like number 30 of IAC meetings that I've been at. So it's always good to see a whole lot of old friends and new friends and just see how things are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more exciting. So many of you may know me. I've been around this event for quite some time. I have had a former life of heading the Native American Agriculture Fund. I was the first CEO of it and got it stood up. Before that, I founded the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative at the University of Arkansas School of Law. And yeah, yay! But some of you may not know that I've been in agricultural law, and I actually began my career in the late 80s as an agricultural lawyer working in finance. And it was in the 80s farm financial crisis, and it was ugly. Many of you who are my age or older remember it well. Others of you hear stories around the fireplace at night, and nobody wants to go back to it, right? I mean, it's like, it was hideous. But I answered a phone call not too long ago from Tomie, who is the chairperson of our board at Native Agriculture Financial Services, and I was enticed away from being the general counsel at USDA. So I no longer am there. Don't ask me any questions about them. I don't know nothing. So actually I do know quite a bit, but not of what they're doing right now, and got lots of friends still at the department who I miss terribly, but I could not say no to Tomie and the other members of the board. It was too important an opportunity, not for me personally, but for where we are at this moment. And you and I were talking out back and talking about, you know, we were not really saying it, Tomie, but we were all kind of getting to the place where this is an incredibly important moment for us to be having this conversation. And when you were talking about all of the challenges that you all are facing, but also the opportunities and the things that you're doing that make sense to you and where you're going with your family and your ranch, I'm excited because Native Agriculture Financial Services was put in place, and if you don't know, it actually began as a dream a long time ago. Many years ago, Tony Stanger McLaughlin was able to get the dream over the finish line with the board, and Porter, you're out here somewhere, I know. I don't know the rest of the board members are here or not. But she was able to convince the Native American Agriculture Fund that they should put some money on the ground to start Native Agriculture Financial Services. And the reason why is that central to agriculture in Indian country, but central to all agriculture, y'all, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, is capital. We have to have it. It's expensive. It's expensive to feed. It's expensive to move fences. It's expensive to buy anything. It's expensive to repair, and we all know it. And one of the things that I always kind of go back in my own mind about is through my own journey, my grandfather had a little, Tomie knows this because I bring it up all the time. He had a little dirt floor tractor repair dealership. It wasn't some fancy schmancy, two-story complex where you go and buy your tractors. It had a dirt floor. He had 2 employees. He sold tractors to farmers and ranchers in a 4-state area. That's how I grew up. I learned how to drive on a tractor, and I just remember, and I helped my grandma do the books, and I remember him giving a pass to farmers and ranchers who he knew had had trouble that year, and he always worked in concert with the banks that were local, and our job, we never talked about it. And this is in Idabel, Oklahoma, deep in Choctaw, although I'm Chickasaw. We never talked about it, but the purpose for us getting up every morning was to keep those farmers and ranchers on the dirt doing the work. It was not to ever give up. And to me, that is what Native Agriculture Financial Services needs to all be about. which is how are we going to play a role in getting capital into the hands of people like you so that she can stay with her family and not give up and keep moving and hand that operation off to the next generation. Hopefully she will not, she'll not continue this practice of telling her husband the morning that the bill makers show up. Of course, that's something I would do, and I just told her I would do it. You know, but that to me is, we have a role here. Our job as Native Ag Financial Services is to be in the background and to be a funnel mechanism for capital. And we have some to get us started. The fund put it in our hands to get it rolling. We're standing it up right now. We're doing all the back office stuff to get it rolling. We're reaching out to Native CDFIs who are out there in your communities. We'll work with any of them. There are already several that have good, strong ag portfolios who have, I mean, Skya has too many people in the pipeline. She doesn't have enough capital to actually fund all of the loans that are literally waiting there to be, you know, to have that need met. So we're going to bring funds to the table and take a piece of those. And there may be times when we are the originators of the loan. We're just going to roll with the flow, Tomie, and see where it takes us. But we're very cognizant of the equipment, insurance needs, and just the need to be that full service. But I will tell you, back to regenerative ag, and then I'll hand it back to you, Tomie. We have to take the things that you're putting in motion and the ones that you're working on through your organization and working with Tomie and IAC. We've got to build that piece all together so that when people who provide capital to farmers and ranchers do that, they can do it with a deeper understanding of how they can bring necessary capital to the ranch, to the operation, to allow her to have this longer vision and not just react. I'm old enough that I remember a day when we didn't just react. We actually stayed with people. And that's maybe a very simplistic way of talking about it, Tomie, because we can go deep in the weeds and get really complicated very quickly. But at the end of the day, to me, it's about how do we bring capital into agriculture, into native agriculture that allows us to have those resources, but to cast them way out into the future. And so that when I actually walk in the door and I need a loan to do X, right? That I don't have to be in a panic for the next 5 years, wondering whether it's going to actually be able to be paid off or even make my payment that year. How can we actually be in a place where we stay with the people who are on the land? I don't know how else better to say that, y'all. We have to do better than this. We've gotten to a place where everything is just chaotic and instantaneous and everybody wants to be satisfied tomorrow. That doesn't work for agriculture. It never has, and it certainly has never worked for native agriculture. We have to have a long vision. And to me, if Native Ag Financial Services can help be a part of that, casting that long vision, then dang it, we need, and I'm almost cussed too, didn't I? We've got to be there. And Tomie, I think, to me, this is how we invest in the future.
Woo! Thank you. I got some good news that the sound is working on the video now. I think first I want to thank our panel. Fanny, thank you for, of course, being a producer and doing all the hard work, and then letting us be really up in your business for the next couple of years, videoing you and taking your numbers. But it's what we'll be able to do with that financial data and that case study. That is really, it'll be empowering. So thank you, Janie, for being the amazing person that you are and the work you're going to be doing with Native American Financial Services. And of course, Vincent, I'd like to thank you too, and EDF as a whole for being our partner on this case study. So thank you.
I guess as a producer, I have a question. You know, I love the concept of regenerative agriculture. It fits into my life very well, has for years before it was even a thing. But there's a problem with it. I think everybody in here at some point will go, yeah, I'd like to do the right thing. I would like to produce a product that without the chemicals, without hormones, but it's about dollars. This is a business, and if we don't make money, we're not in business anymore. You know, we got families to raise, we have bills, we have all these things, and we want to prosper in life. And so a lot of people, they don't go down that road because it comes to the money. And honest to God, we cut back our herd, and we talked about that a long time. We didn't really have to. We could have ran that ground into the dirt. We've seen people do it over and over again, but we knew it would take years, if not a decade, to regroup that ground, right? So we made that hard call to call down to a third. Well, we hit some good prices in calves. Well, we called a third. That cost us about $120,000 this year. That's the thing with regenerative that's hard for people, is because, and I don't like throwing my business out there, but it's the truth. And so we made that decision. If we would have hung on, we would have made that much more money this year. And we realize that, and we're willing to accept that. But there's a lot of people out there that are having some really hard times. So if they choose to go regenerative, and this is pushed on them, climate smart and all this, maybe it would be nice if people could, in these programs, could think, how can we help support these people financially to go into regenerative, to be kind to the animals, to be kind to the land, to raise a healthier product. We all want to do that, but it comes down to the pocketbook. We got kids going to college, we got little infant babies, we got medical bills, and so our hands are tied. And trust me, I don't like it when our calves are sold and I know they're going to go to a feedlot somewhere. I don't like it, but it's money, and those are our premium buyers. I'd love to see them go grass-fed and be fed out on the grass and have a good quality life, but it's about money. So just a thought.
And I wanted, I'm so glad you said that. Because it is all about money. And we can talk about all of these things all we want to. At the end of the day, you have to have the money to keep doing it. And to not just take it on the chin for everybody else, right? And have it all come out of your hide. And that's the way I feel like NAFS can actually help be a part of a creative solution in this space. One of the things that I wanted to also share with everybody is, although the Native American Ag Fund gave us some starting capital, we are seeking certification approval to be an other financing institution, which is a creature of federal law in the farm credit system, which is a whole system of throughout the whole nation of agricultural lenders. Their sole mission on earth is to do agricultural lending. This other financing institutional thing within their system has existed for many years, but the farm credit infrastructure has said to us, we're taking it a step further. We've never seen an other financing institution in the farm credit system focusing solely on native agriculture, ever. It's never happened. And they have stood by us from day one. They're pushing us through their system. We're on a fast track to be approved. We're going to do whatever we have to do to be approved because we can't NAFS cannot exist on grants. At the end of the day, your ranch can't exist on grants. It all has to pencil out. It all has to pencil out, and it can't be done, the penciling out cannot be done in such a way that you have to sell a third of your herd and live on beans for the next 10 years while you regain your footing. It shouldn't be that way. It should be flexible enough, and we should be able to attract other investment capital. You know, we just become the vehicle to be creative and pull resources from a lot of different avenues, and then match it with the structural support of the farm credit system, and then come in with guaranteed loans from FSA. And, you know, there's a way to make this picture better for her. And to me, at the end of the day, it's all about the rancher and the farmer. If we can't make it so that it pencils out, then we can talk all we want to about regenerative ag. It'll be called something else 10 years from now, and we still won't get it done because it can't pencil out. Our job has to be focused on seeing the world through your eyes and your pocketbook. And that is our pledge at NAFS, is to always look at it through your eyes and your pocketbook. It's got to pencil out, and you've got to be able to do growth every year as opposed to stepping back every year only to spend the next 5 years regrouping. We don't have to be on that treadmill. And that's, maybe it's, Tomie, maybe that's a big, big, you know, dream with the rainbow and, you know, unicorns everywhere. Damn it, that's what we're going for. Carry on.
That's right. I'll just make one last quick comment to answer your question, Fanny, because it's the most important one. Our team at EDF and the work that Tomie and I are doing together is exactly to answer that question, because regenerative agriculture, climate smart agriculture will only work if it's profitable to producers. Bottom line. And in order to develop the solutions we need to make that happen, we need to understand how it works. How is it working on Fannie's enterprise budget, whole farm budget? Where are there profitable cost savings individually to Brewer Ranch itself? And where are there gaps? Where do the buyers down the supply chain need to contribute financially to ensure that it does pencil out? And then not only do we need to have enough capital, we need the capital to match the timeline it takes for those practices to pencil out with that capital. That doesn't happen overnight. You don't just plant a cover crop and soil organic matter improves. It takes time. And so we need to ensure, with the help of Janie, with the help of other financial institutions, to develop the type of lending products that help Fannie make those investments, have the working capital to continue making those investments as the benefits of those practices accrue over time. So really understanding the underlying economics is important for us to work with financial institutions, with buyers to fill those gaps, to develop those new forms of revenue, and to develop the new types of financial products that help you make those investments. And I think we can achieve that with the right partners.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I think we can get off stage now and let them show the video finally. Thank you.